of adaptive challenges. The word adaptation itself comes from biology. When scientists in the 1800s, particularly Charles Darwin, who sailed in these waters for more than a year to study the nature of life on our earth, in order to try to explain why is there such extraordinary diversity of life on our earth, with such extraordinary functionality. How did it happen? In an effort to explain the evolution of life, Darwin came up with a theory of evolution in which there was also a theory of adaptation. The word adaptation really comes from biology and from evolutionary theory. And I've been finding, as I've gone back to learn some of this science, and there's been a lot of progress in understanding how evolution takes place, even in the last 10 years, although there are still many mysteries. There are some interesting lessons to be drawn from understanding evolution in nature, or if you prefer, the design, God's design in creating evolution. I'm very comfortable with both perspectives. And there are lessons to be learned from that design, from the design in evolution, that can also be applied then to our efforts to achieve more effective social transformations and social evolution. First of all, we learn in nature that evolution is highly conservative. God did not do zero-based budgeting. 99% of our DNA is identical to a chimpanzee. And yet human beings have amazing functionality compared to a chimpanzee. We can do incredible things. Not only go to the moon, but even sitting in this room together is an unbelievable achievement, requiring unbelievable engineering in social organization, in technology, in developing very complex systems. Just the fact that we could stand in this room and know that in an hour or 2 hours from now there will be food available is an unbelievable achievement. And yet it only required 1% change in our DNA compared to a chimpanzee. God didn't start all over. Evolution builds from the DNA that's already valuable and functional, and only discards that DNA which no longer is serviceable, and then innovates, creates some new DNA or new DNA arrangements and regulation, so that an organism can bring the best of its capacity and the best of its history of its own evolved capacity into the future. So as we apply this to human evolution, social evolution, it's important then to understand that progress is also conservative. That we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, to use a proverbial phrase. That we want to build from what is already wonderfully advanced in our capacity, in our values, in our culture, in our competency, in our organization, in our tradition. We only want to discard that which no longer works, and then we want to innovate. This is important because when you are trying to change people's ways, to achieve progress on intractable problems, it's very important to try to say to them that you're not only trying to change them, you're also wanting to honor and preserve and respect the cultural DNA, the history, the tradition that they bring. You're not trying to create a revolution, you're trying to create an evolution. Most revolutions fail. The ones that succeed are not really revolutions. We just use that word for public relations, for propaganda. For example, I grew up in the United States, and the propaganda I was taught was that we had an American Revolution, our War of Independence, beginning in 1775. Actually, in the town where I live, in Lexington, Massachusetts. I live in a house where a farmer lived. It's the same house. It's 300 years old. And this farmer in the house I now live got up in the middle of the night and rode on his horse 1 mile up the road to the commons in the center of the town to meet the British as they were marching up the road to fire the first shot that started the American Revolution. We were taught that it was a revolution, and it's true, it was a significant change. But if we step back and look at the total volume of cultural DNA and compare the United States and its culture and its political system and its legal system and its religion and its language and its arts to England, most of it's the same. There is significant change, but it's much more the same than it is different. And similarly for your country, you're not the same as Spain, but my guess is that you have a lot more in common with Spain than you have difference. Of course, the Spanish would like to remind you of that, because they still sometimes operate with a bit of a colonial mentality, an imperial mentality.